The behaviors aren't bad. It's the need to perform them for approval. That's what's worth looking at.
You're listening to Say It Anyway, the podcast for people who know they're meant for more and are done holding back. I'm Maggie Marcus, and here we talk courage, self-trust, and what it takes to lead yourself, even when it scares the hell out of you.
So I spent the weekend in what would be my ideal dream environment. I was camping. I was in Big Sur under these beautiful towering redwood trees. I'm with good people, good vibes. We're eating good food, unplugged from, the world. I mean, as much as possible, because kudos to me, I still completed on the videos from my 90-day challenge, even though I was in the middle of the woods. I figured it out. But that's just a side note. But it was, it was something I've been looking forward to for months. I mean, I haven't been camping in a really long time, and my fiance's brother plans a trip every year. We didn't get to go last year, and so I was really looking forward to this year, and because they do it good. They do it good. Like, great food. They got like 2 campsites and made it into one. So it was like this giant compound, and served up just like freaking tomahawk steaks, like different kinds of salmon, shrimp, Wagyu burgers. Like, it was just like top notch. And so I was really looking forward to it. But I had been taking care of my stepdaughter, who was sick, like, in the days leading up. And so I started to feel like I was coming down with something. And I never get sick. And even when I do, it usually isn't that bad. But so I was like, oh yeah, it's going to be fine. I'll be good. It's all good. I was like chugging vitamin C, medication, all the things. And so we're heading out there. And I get there and I start to feel like, I know I'm starting to take, like, it's not going away. I'm getting a little bit worse. In fact, I lost my voice, like, nearly completely. I was like a squeaking mouse talking to people. Like, what is she saying? No one knows. And I think that's where I was just like, I got frustrated and really disappointed because I wasn't able to, like, fully express myself the way I normally would. I wanted to, like, talk and like engage with people, and like there were some people that I didn't know too well that I wanted to get to know better, and like there was a new couple there that I thought was cool and I wanted to talk to. Normally I would be able to, like, ask questions and be engaging. I'm usually a very, like, outgoing person, and I love to connect. And especially, like, in nature, I love to have fun too, and go when I'm going camping. Like, we're gonna be drinking, smoking weed. Like, that's, like, I love to do that, man. Like, a joint in the morning under the redwoods. Heck yes. Like, and so I felt like I wasn't able to fully show up the way that I normally would, and the way that I would really want to. Instead of, like, being able to contribute and connect and, like, feel carefree and not worry and, like, let go of everything and be able to enjoy myself, I lost my voice. I had a headache. I was so exhausted. I was depleted with energy, and I just could not. It was weird. Like, I was, like, way more. I felt like a quiet, more limited version of myself, which, as someone who also has, like, wounds around, like, feeling trapped, that was, like, a trigger for me, because it's like, like, holding back and, like, being held back and not being able to control something that, and not having control over the situation was super annoying to me. So that first night I was a little bit just, like, annoyed and withdrawn and quiet, and it was weird for me because everyone else is having fun, laughing, talking, and I can barely even say anything. And then on top of that, joints are going around left and right, and I want to partake. And I'm not usually one that says no to things like that. Like, I'm usually the one that says, yes, I'm down. Like, yeah, let's go. I'm the fun one. And so I hated the feeling of missing out and feeling held back by, something I couldn't control. But I go to sleep that night and I'm thinking, maybe tomorrow I'll feel better. I wake up the next morning, my throat is worse. Like, not good. And I still got to go out and do my video. And so I come out of the tent. And because we'd gotten there late at night, the night before, this was the first time I was really like seeing everything like in the morning light. And I came out of the tent and there's just, the trees are just like towering over us. It's green everywhere. The sunlight is streaming in through the leaves. And I'm immediately like, trees are my spirituality, man. Like, I feel so happy in nature. And I felt like in that moment, I thought to myself, I'm like, I get to wake up in this beautiful place. I get to be here. And I thought, I can either continue to feel disappointed and down and frustrated about the fact that I'm sick and I don't get to show up the way I want to, or I could choose to accept what is and surrender and be so grateful to be in this gorgeous, beautiful place. So I made that choice. And once I did, everything kind of softened and I was able to like let go and still enjoy myself, even though the experience wasn't what I was expecting it to be. In reflection, at first, I think it seemed like I was disappointed about the trip and things not being the way that I wanted or expected them to be. But what I really started to notice, and here's what I think is so interesting, is that I kept wanting people to know that I would be, I'd be, someone would try to hand me the joint. I'd be like, oh, no, I can't. But, I totally would, if I could, I definitely would be. That's normally how I am, and like, why do I need people to know that? Like, why? Why am I saying that? It's so cringy afterwards, right? And so I realized that I wasn't really grieving the trip itself. I was grieving an identity. Because I kept asking myself, like, what is all this trying to teach me? Like, what's the lesson beneath this? Like, I know that there's something here for me. And so I was writing in my notes, like on the second day of my trip. And I'm going to read directly what I wrote. It was just like bullet points, but this is what I wrote. Because I started to realize it wasn't about, the trip. It was about this identity that I have, that I'm still attached to. And so what I wrote, it's about me being seen as cool or not, that I'm attached to the identity that of someone that is fun, cool, down to do whatever, that smokes, right? It's cool when I'm the one that takes the joint. And I wrote, but who am I behind that identity? I'm afraid to be misunderstood. I'm afraid that I can't control the perception. And I wanted to control everyone's perception. Like when I was saying, oh, I want to smoke, I just can't, I wish I could, I would if I could. Like I'm protecting my ego, and an image of being the cool, chill one, the one who smokes, one who parties, one who's down and is cool. But why do I need that identity? That identity made me feel significant or validated with friends over the years. I was always the cool, fun, like a little bit crazy, wild one, the one who took risks, that was rebellious. But who am I without that? And that's where I got to find out. And it was so funny because I was writing these notes down and I was sitting by the campfire. And as soon as I stopped writing, I tuned in and I heard the music playing. And literally the lyric that came on as soon as I tuned in was, "It makes no difference what other people say." Sometimes the universe has pretty good timing, right? Because I was starting to realize how attached I was to this identity and that there was this fear of what people were going to think of me if I wasn't that way. I've always been rewarded for that. over the years, like, this is the identity that I have learned, that I am the send it girl, down for whatever, fuck it, let's have fun, do it. I've been rewarded for that identity for years by, like, socially, right? Like, by people like liking me, wanting to be friends with me, inviting me to things, inviting me to trips, and the way people would always comment and say, it seems like you're just so fun and you live life up and things like that. And yes, there's a part of me that, of course, like, enjoys that. I like that is a part of me. Like, I am fun. I am outgoing. I like, being a little risky, a little, rebellious sometimes. And so there's part of me that yeah, has enjoyed that. But what's more interesting is the fact that I've been validated for it over and over and over again, for being adventurous and spontaneous and cool. And when people repeatedly reward a trait, it stops feeling like something you do. It just starts feeling like who you are. Like, oh yeah, that's just who I am. I'm the cool. I'm the fun one. I'm the one that always says yes. I'm down. Like, my friends would always invite our entire friend group to a trip, and people wouldn't go, but I would. Like, everyone knew. Like, no, Maggie's down, or like, I would make a silly, like, I don't know, I can't think right now, but like, I would do something like silly in public and be like, oh yeah, that's Maggie. It's just like, I'm not surprised. I was trying to think of this other example. Oh yeah, like, it's just stupid stuff, right? Like one time my hair caught fire at a bar. I was on a date, and I remember telling my friends this story, and even one of them told their husband, and they're like, yeah, that sounds like Maggie, right? So it's like, when we're reinforced, like, for this type of identity, like, we're just like kind of a little crazy, a little wild, like, that's who we start to think, like, that's who I am. So when I couldn't tap into that identity fully the way that I normally would, when I couldn't really access that, it was weird. It was like, who am I? Like, this is a weird feeling. I was afraid, if I'm really honest, that I wouldn't be seen as fun and cool, and then that would make me kind of boring and not as interesting, especially with, like, people that I haven't spent as much time with, or they're like, I'm meeting new people, right? Like, I want to give them this impression of me, and I'm worried, oh, like, they're just not going to think, like, they're not going to be as excited to be in my company, and maybe they won't like me, or like, maybe they'll be indifferent about me, especially too, because, and it's not just about the partying and all that, it's like, I couldn't really connect as much as I wanted to, and like go deeper in conversation, or even talk that much. So I'm like worried that, like, people are just going to think that I'm sort of boring, and I always want people to love me. I always have. And I've learned and I've healed that, like, in recent years. But of course, like, it's a natural human thing. We want people to like us. Like, we learn growing up what behaviors get us validated and what doesn't. This is how the performer identity forms, because we start to see, okay, when I'm cool, when I'm the fun one, the yes, the rebel, the funny one, the strong one, the helper, like, then I get some sort of positive reinforcement. So I learn that when I act this way, people like me, people include me, they laugh with me, right? So we keep doing it, even when it doesn't always feel good inside, but it keeps us safe socially and emotionally. And here's the nuance. Okay, it's not always fake. Sometimes it's a very real part of you that you've learned to just amplify and lean into, because it's gotten you approval. It's worked for you. Like, the cool, fun, rebel, wild chick, like, that worked for me. It gained me friends. It gained me social proof. It gained me approval. Right? And so, like, it genuinely is me, but I have learned to turn it up when I want to be liked for it. So the behavior is real, but the need for it to be seen is the performance. And there's some research that backs this up, right? Psychology calls it impression management. We all have a front stage self and a backstage self. And sometimes we perform a version of us that's genuinely us, and we just turn it up because we think that's what's going to get us attention, get us liked, get us approval. And sometimes we perform things that aren't us at all, right? Like at all. Like we're like actually kind of reserved and shy, but we try to be an extrovert, for example. Or you don't actually like sports, but you act as if you do because your boyfriend and his friends do, for example. So, but either way, the question is the same. Are you showing up for yourself or for an audience? And what happens, here's the interesting thing, so what happened to me, what happens when you can't perform, when you can't, lean in to that identity that's given you that social approval? What happens when that identity kind of gets disrupted? Like the successful one who gets laid off, or the person who's always been the strong one and suddenly they're injured, or the independent woman who doesn't need a man and then she falls in love, or the confident person who gets rejected. Suddenly it's like, whoa. Who am I? What the heck is going on here? And I think what comes with that is like fear, right? Like, who am I if I'm not that? And there's a bit of confusion. It's kind of like this like social survival panic that kicks in, and then life asks you, now, who are you? Who are you? And that's scary. It's a scary thing to contend with when you've kind of identified with a label or way of being for so long, and then it gets challenged. So that's scary. And when that's challenged, sometimes maybe it's a good thing. Maybe that's when we start to learn who we really are. I think there's a lot of movies that have been made about that, right? Let's say like the highly successful guy who, gets kicked down into, the dirt and loses everything. And now he's like, who am I outside of my success and my material items? And, so it could be a good thing. Because those labels we learn are exactly that, labels. They don't need to define us. And I know I was upset because I couldn't fully express myself. And that's definitely a big thing for me, especially as someone who has been leaning in and learning how to authentically be herself and be seen, for who she really is. And so I think there was a part of me definitely that was like upset for not being able to express myself fully. But when I was really honest with myself, I realized I was actually also upset because I couldn't be seen the way I wanted to be. I wanted to control the image and the perception. And that's where I had like kind of those icky moments, right? Where I would find myself like trying to justify or explain that I would smoke if I could, and making sure that they knew that normally I am that way. I'm cool. Just feeling like so gross afterwards, like hearing myself say that. And I was like, ew, why are you saying that? Why are you trying to explain that? And like feeling, oh, that comes across like really insecure. Like, just so you know, I'm actually cool. Like, no. And like I did that in like the first day, and then once I recognized that, I stopped, because I was like, I do not need to prove myself and show like that I am that way, because actually being held back a little, being more quiet and being more of like the observer, like literally losing my voice and not being able to like say everything caused me to be the observer and start to, because I didn't only had a certain amount of like energy to exert and only so much voice, I started to evaluate everything I was thinking that I wanted to say to see if it was worth expending the energy and saying it. And so it was like, is this worth saying and straining my voice for? And so I started to notice when I wanted to say something, whether it was actually genuine and authentic, or if it was me just trying to control perception, or me just trying to perform in some way. And that was really interesting for me, because usually I'm a fast talker and I just say things. There's not much like space between, especially if I'm in like in a high energy context and a group of people. I'm usually just like open my mouth and talk. And so I'd be like sitting there in my own world, and I'd overhear something in the conversation, and I'd find myself like, oh, I want to say this. And like, then I would sit and think about it. I'm like, oh, that was me just trying to like make that comment and try to be like funny or sarcastic so that they, that's a performance. Like, that's just me trying to like be cool, or like just trying to like throw in a comment like of that I agree, or like, like I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like back someone up or something and be like, oh yeah, that's so cool, me too. And I'm like, and I feel like, oh, do I really want to share that? Or is that just me trying to like be like gain some approval and be like, also, hey, don't forget about me, I'm here. Like, and that's all part of a little bit of the performer. Because I'm like, I need you to know that I get it. I need you to know that I agree. I need you to know that I'm cool. I need you to know that I'm here. It was actually kind of nice being able to release that and be able to sort of just sit a lot of the times. I had an adult coloring book, and I was lost in the sauce with the adult coloring book. I love it. And so I'm just like in my own world. It was nice because I was able to, I think, be a little bit more connected with myself. I was quieter. I was a little more introspective. I was coloring, and I'd be looking at the trees, gazing off. And I started to realize that like that wouldn't have been the case as much if I was 100% healthy, because I would have been like drinking, smoking, whatever. And then when I do that, I tend to lose myself. And I recognize that I don't need to escape myself. And I also, like, even if I do want to drink, I don't need to overdo it. I've always tended to overdo it, because I'll always be like, yes, yeah, let's go, for sure. And so it was really nice to be able to stay connected to myself. And I liked that. I like that I got to, like, I knew that, but I got to really enforce that and learn it, because I know that I like to stay connected to myself, but I've never done it in an environment like that where other people are having fun, partying, drinking, doing all this other stuff. I'm always the one enjoying that with them. I've never been the one to pull back and not do that. And so in that context, I'm always like, yes, I'm down, let's do it. But I got to stay connected to myself and not engage in that way. And I liked that. I hope that makes sense. And the other thing I got to learn was like really acceptance. Like when I chose acceptance that morning, it was like a breath of fresh air. It was so refreshing. It was like, okay, it is what it is, and I get to choose my experience from here. And that acceptance opened up something in me that it was like ease, peace, gratitude. And I realized I could still have fun and I could still connect. It was just a little different than how I normally would. I got a little more creative. I had to use my body language more. I felt like I was just more present and a bit more still, a bit more grounded. And I only really shared when I felt deeply like I really wanted to. And that felt really authentic to me. I was only willing to share those things because it felt like it was worth straining myself to do it. So I was very selective with what I did share. But more importantly, I think beyond all of that, like, is what I love, is that I found out I'm still enough without overdoing it, without the performance. I'm still enough. I was so worried, oh, they're not going to like me. They're not going to think I'm interesting. They're not going to think I'm cool. They did. I am. I don't need those things or to perform or like be an extra version of myself to connect with people, to have them like me, to get along, to feel good. And that felt good. Like, that felt good. And I feel like all of that was designed for me to learn that. And because I knew it on a head level, but on a very emotional level, I hadn't quite experienced it yet in that way. And I think that's what I wanted. Or not what I wanted, what I needed to learn. So going forward, the understanding or the takeaway, I think that's really important, is like, you are not the identity that you have taken on. Like, the identity is just something that you do sometimes. Like, it's a label. It's like something that's just kind of a part of you, but it is not you. Yes, I think that I'll still smoke and drink sometimes, right? Like, the behaviors aren't bad. It's the need to perform them for approval. That's what's worth looking at. Right? I've got many identities and many labels. I'm also the athletic one. And for a while, that identity took over me as well. You know, I was like, I had to be fit and lean and competitive and win. And that was an identity that I had. But that's not me. I had to detach from that identity too. And say like, hey, that's just something that I do sometimes. I can be athletic. I can compete sometimes. That's just a part of me, but it's not who I am. And same goes for lots of other identities that you might give yourself. I also had the identity that I'm the independent one. I don't need nobody. And I thought that that's who I was. Then I realized that's not really who I am. That's just I learned who I had to be in order to survive. Actually, I love being not like that. I like a level of codependency in my relationship. And I love being able to lean on my partner. And I love that. I love being able to give and receive in that way. I don't need to do everything on my own. So there's lots of identities that we've fixed and said that that's us, but it's not. It might just be a part of you. And we don't need it to define us. I can still be independent. I still am. I can go still travel on my own if I want to. I can run my business goals independently, like all this stuff, right? But it doesn't define me. I don't say like that's who I am. You can put the label down without losing yourself. You know, in fact, you might find more of yourself. And I think that's what I'm realizing, because I've put down a lot of labels, but I didn't realize how attached I was to this one still, the cool, fun, carefree one, because I loved that identity so much. And for me to release it a little bit and put a little space between it and how I define myself, it was a little bit of a weird experience. It's like, I feel like I had to grieve it a little bit and let go of it. Okay, who am I if I'm not that? That's been the biggest part of my identity. That's how I've always known who I am in a room. And so coming to find out that I don't need that. I can still show up and be me and still love who I am as I am without having to prove that to be the fun, cool, spontaneous, badass one. So ask yourself, where do you find yourself performing? Which labels are you still attached to? Where do you sort of turn it up for other people? Where do you turn it on? Where do you amplify? Where do you perform a version of yourself because you're afraid that who you are might not be enough as you are? That you turn it up because the real volume you're afraid won't be enough. And then ask, what if it was? What if the regular you is exactly enough? What if it was even better? I am me. and I'm still a fun, cool girl who likes to cut loose, and that's just something I do sometimes, but it's not who I am. And the moment I put that label down, even for just a weekend, I found out that I was still liked. I'm still connected. I'm still myself. It makes no difference what other people think or say. Who I am is always enough. And the same goes for you. Who you are has always been bigger than the role you've been praised for. The cool one, the strong one, the funny one, the successful one. Those might be parts of you, but they were never the whole of you. And sometimes life has to take those offline so you can remember that.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If this episode hit home, spread the love. Maybe share it with a friend or drop a comment. I'd love to know what landed for you. And remember, your voice matters. Whatever you're holding back, say it anyway.